Right, hello everyone. So this is actually a pretty fat patch note. It's literally 10 pages of patch notes here. Really, really good shit, not gonna lie. I just thought it was gonna be a very simple one because there was Dawn Office fixes Sinclair buffs, and then there was just like a few ones where they were gonna make the normal dungeon a bit easier, right? But actually, they slapped on like a billion other things to make this mirror dungeon even better. And I'll just talk about them real quick. I'll summarize it so you don't have to read the whole damn thing. It's literally 10 pages of text. It's crazy. Right. So, starting off with the major change, right? Dawn Office Sinclair is getting additional buffs. He's going to go from resetting to 10 SP when he transforms into 20 SP instead. And the biggest buff is his passive now requires Wrath Own rather than Wrath Rest. This frees him up into a lot of other team comps because all you need to do is get Wrath in your character, pretty much. All you need to do is I have maybe one character or two characters with Wrath, and then boom, you get 5 Wrath Own. Okay, passive online, that means you get your coin power per SP, and you also get your +1 burn potency and +1 burn count to all of your skills. So yeah, really easy to get it now with this change. I cannot wait for this to happen, and I cannot wait to see how many team comps we can just slap this guy into at that point. But yeah, really, really good buffs. I talked about this before, but I'm gonna mention it again because real good buffs. Alright, moving on to the next one. MD is getting improved. The normal one will now be dropped to 4 floors, and the rest stop and the shop will be moved to the 4th floor instead of the 5th floor. Makes sense. And what they try to do with this mirror dungeon, right? There's a huge amount of text here, but all you need to know is the yellow ones here. The yellow ones, they talk about making it easier for you to force your builds. If you're going for Rupture, now the changes they're about to make will make it easier for you to force your builds. So number 3 here, Ego Gifts appearing in your shops, rest stops, fusions, and encounter rewards. These are no longer limited by the floor team pack Ego Gift pool. So how it works right now is that based on what you have selected as your pack, all of the shops, all of the rewards will only be limited to what was in the pack. And now this will just open it up and make sure that your shops will have a more variety of items that you can buy pretty much. So that doesn't really help you with your keywords, right? But don't worry, the next one onwards will just help you with the keywords. At least one Ego gift now from the keyword category that you selected is guaranteed to appear in at least one of the packs, pretty much. So you will be able to select guaranteed one Rupture, one Bleed, one Poise if you picked your Rupture, Bleed, or Poise respectively at the start of the game. So that is already one way that they are helping you getting your Ego gifts. There's a whole bunch of text here, but essentially this is just a giant if-else statement. If you don't know coding, it's fine. It's basically if you have already capped out on your Rupture, go to the next thing. If you have capped out on the next keyword that we gave you, then you go to the next thing, and then so on and so forth. We go to some tier levels and blah 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 blah. Pretty much, it's just if you manage to collect all of the Rupture, and you try to get more Rupture, then you will instead get something that's not Rupture, but it will be the same tier. And then if you get the max of those, you go to the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and so on and so forth until you just run out of stuff, pretty much. Don't have to read all of this. Essentially, there will be a VFX in the future that will explain this a bit better. So you really don't have to read this. Just know that now is easier for you to get your ego gifts that are meant for a specific element. And adding on to that, they also allow you to fuse for your special status or even your damage type. So let's say you're running a Rupture team and you accidentally got like 2 Bleed Ego Gifts by defeating Gossipium in a boss fight. Well, those are not that great for the Rupture team, so you might want to sell them. But actually now what you can do is you can fuse them. You can fuse them into the Rupture Ego Gift, and it will depend on the tier of the items that you threw into the fusion pool. And this is the most important part here. The more Ego Gifts you use in the fusion, the greater the chance of obtaining an Ego Gift of the category you selected, and the probability is no longer affected by the category of the Ego Gifts you use for the fusion. Which means if you throw Bleed in, you will get Rupture out. You throw Charge in, you get Rupture out, for example. Like, this is very good and basically makes your other really shitty Ego Gifts that doesn't really synergize with your team a bit more valuable than just selling them for more cost. Right, so this is really nice. I like it a lot. Helps the consistency, and to add even more consistency, we have a keyword refresh button in the shop to raise the chances of the shop selling an ego gift in the selected keyword. So I want rupture, I select rupture, boom, reroll. Now we give me a rupture ego gift and so on and so forth. Yeah, it follows the same rules as something like this, where if you already have all the rupture, it'll give you something else and then something else and then something else, but pretty much. Don't have to read the rest. That's pretty much what it does. And also down here, a bit important is that the keyword refresh is also affected by the refresh cost minus X% starter buff. Yep. But it's however unaffected by the X% chance for a cost-free refresh. So these things are a bit separate. Yep. Right. Then moving on to the next one, encounter reward cards adjusted. So now what I'm doing for farming the Starlight is that I am just fighting every boss so that I can get the reward card that gives me Starlight. And what they're doing is they're reducing the chance of that appearing, but raising the amount of Starlight you get instead. They're also changing it to a few other things, such as the one where you have a chance to acquire Ego Gift, 50% chance. They're also making it so that it has it reduces the chances of this one appearing, but increases the Ego Gift tier as well as the rate. So maybe it'll be like 70% for a tier 3 Ego. That's actually pretty good if you can hit it. But yeah, this is what they're doing to the Ego Gift reward cards for Starlight as well as for Ego Gift and cost. After that, they're also making it so that your focus encounters are going to be a bit more. Focus encounters are basically abno fights, but it's just like you're fighting 6 of them. It's not very hard. It's just like a small wave battle pretty much. The elite encounter is where you fight real big bosses. They're going to reduce this one, so you get more focus encounters. They're also going to make it so that for the early floors in your mirror dungeons, you cannot really get the really hard bosses. For example, Ada Blossom Moth, Pequod, Bull, Ahab alone, like all of these characters, all these boss fights are pretty tricky if you get them at the start of the run. In fact, I kind of had to forfeit a run recently because I hit Ada Blossom like on floor 1, and that was really hard because my team comp was not meant for Ada Blossom fight pretty much. Yep. They're also adding a new detail mode and a summary mode. This one is more details or just a summary of the starter buffs, that's whatever. Floor team Ego Gift pools adjusted. So what happened is that they added even more Ego Gifts to the pool of each floor team pack. So you have more options pretty much to go and pull out of it. And then there's 6 pages of bug fixes. It's crazy. The main thing that they focus on in this patch is really good is because there was a shit ton of soft locks in the game recently. And one of the major problems that I saw on the Reddit was this guy over here. This abnormality, the Wayward Passenger Dimension Shredder Boy. When you beat him, the game will just stop. He just left and then abandoned the fight. So they're going to remove him totally and then he'll be added back later on. Yeah, I remember this guy was really annoying and I actually had to avoid him, if not I would get soft locked. So that was one of the major changes they did. And then they also did soft lock fix for 648, soft lock fix for blah 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 blah. You have a shit ton of soft lock fixes. And they also nerfed one of the stages that I didn't like, which was the Baba Yaga stage. I think they nerfed it so that the number of actions that would come out of them would match the number of sinners you have. So you can clash all of them, which I think is nice because Baba Yaga, there was always 2 extra attacks that would hit you and then you can't really do anything about it. So yeah, this kind of makes sense. I see this reduced the number of enemies in certain stages where enemies had too many slots compared to sinners. Yeah, that one was what I was talking about pretty much. So this plus Baba Yaga, that makes sense. Alright. And then there's a bunch of other fixes for other stuff, but none of them particularly interesting to me. Feel free to go and find any that are particularly interesting, but I did not find any others that I thought were interesting. Okay, wait, there's one more. Sorry. Dawn Office fixes Sinclair. I remember I also saw a Reddit post where the tour guide yoinked him and he could still attack while he was in the air. It was super funny, but that is also going to get fixed with this patch. So yeah, this patch comes with a shit ton of fixes, great stuff. It is 9 pages of shit. 4 pages, 5 pages of bug fixes, and then a bunch of other Mirror Dungeon shit. It's really good stuff. And also we're getting a whopping 800 lunacy, so you can go and pull for your Walpurgis Knight a little bit more before the end of this Walpurgis banner. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's really good patch. You get the Dawn Fixer buff, you get Mirror Dungeon buffs, just overall just a lot of great stuff here. Yep, that's really it. If I missed out anything, feel free to let me know. If I made a mistake, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. And yeah, that's really about it. Cannot wait for this patch to hit. I cannot wait to try and force my way into Rupture and just get every single one and then just run it down. Oh my god, it's gonna be so fun. Right, and I also can't wait to go and test out this fixer Sinclair and see what other team comps I can slap him into. Right, that's gonna be it. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.